Hi, welcome to Volume 3. My name's Ken Wells and I'm the editor of RC Video Magazine. I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you a couple of the changes we've made. First, there's a survey accompanying the tape, and we feel the more we know about our subscribers, the better job we can do to bring you informative and entertaining programs. Secondly is the way the tape's put together. The first half of the tape is designed for group showings and club meetings. The second half of the tape are the technical articles and the how-to. Hope you enjoy Volume 3, 1985, and happy flying.
Flew the time till that was required. We had to make her stay together for the duration of the flight, and it was all done over the airport here. So it took several pilots to achieve the time to keep her in the air. We just keep her till she came apart, and when it did, we'd land it and put her back together and make changes. We changed her 4 times. We re-rigged the controls 4 times to get it to last the trip.
Batteries, they are just phenomenal. They are able to pack what is known as 5,050 milliamps into a 4,000 unit. It does not develop a memory, and with those we were able to put into the plane some 21 hours flying time available to us. Of course, we didn't use it, but it was a nice thing to know it was there.
Sandpaper?
I got
sandpaper.
This here, they got one little hump I don't like. Well, I would suggest that you can put a patch under the tail out of this box over here. She says, let me do that, Granddaddy. He says, that's more like fitting a dress. And well, your old man knows how, your old grandfather knows how to do that too. 2 hours?
Star will have a field day, won't he?
What do you want?
They're sleeping off the back end. It's coming out on that side. I think you'd be all right. It's coming out over there, Rhett, on the other side. But
Oh, the fog when we took off, honest to God, you just wonder how we could have gotten through it. But we flew through that envelope of fog all the way to Bayard, and I kept saying, I think it'll clear, I think it'll clear. My experience in the billboard business and not having to send a crew out and have them come back having done nothing paid off, because I read that weather for weeks ahead. We normally fly at approximately 150 to 175 feet in order to escape the influence of the high lines, which has an effect on the radio, which controls it. But we did, on a number of occasions, due to the thermals, the rising currents, the ship was up to where she wasn't as big as a fly speck. It was just marvelous how the pilots handled that ship. It could have been a failure without their skill. They were just like two concert pianists. They seemed to anticipate each other's moves, just like the pianists would play at a concert. I acted as a fuel controller from the car and kept the records of the flight by the mileposts and the timing at the flight at the time we passed it, in order to estimate our speed and how much gas we had left and so forth. And the skill of those fellows, they brought that ship down even with the window of the car and put right beside the car, synchronized it, and read through a little sight gauge that I'd put into it only 8 days before.
Oh boy, this is great.
Well, you made it. How do you feel?
Numb. We went all the way to Quincy and turned around at Quincy. 22 miles the other side of Tallahassee.
So you broke the record?
Broke all of them. We've broken 2 records. We beat the 6 hours and 1 minute. We beat the world's record. Oh gosh, we beat that on the way over. But then we've beaten the other fellas who made 2:08, 2:29, and 3:38. We've beaten all of them. We've come over 400 miles. Right about 400, and I'd say about 410, but I wouldn't want that to be until we calculate.
So how do you feel about all this?
Well, wonderful. I'm not terribly excited, but I felt she'd do it. I felt she'd do it all along. But Rhett deserves the credit. Rhett and Dean, they're the ones who flew it.
Got 6.5 gallons in the air, which we were kind of had doubts about, but all went good. Got lucky.
How'd it handle?
Well, when we took off this morning, not too good, but later on, as it got down around 4.5 gallons, it got pretty nice. In fact, we played with it a little bit coming down the highway. It was, right next to the car, just a few feet away, playing around a little bit. But, other than that, it just went fine.
You drove the car all the way there, all the way back?
Not exactly. We had a pilot and command change there during driving. We just
Did you stop for that?
no.
Just switched drivers while the car was rolling?
Yeah, it looked pretty funny from outside, but it went okay. We just one flew while the other one switched.
Were you worried at all keeping up with the plane?
No. We were on the way back. We had a tailwind, and we were going pretty fast, and had one policeman come by and talk to us, but nothing much.
He didn't try and stop you?
No, he just waved us on. He was more interested in the airplane than us.
So how do you feel now it's all over? Long drive.
Yeah, 8 hours. It's pretty long. Glad to get back.
Feel like maybe you've made a little aviation history here?
Well, in that we have picked up what has been a forgotten airplane. This plane is actually the most efficient airplane that was ever designed by Gillespie Belanca. He lost the mail contract because he wouldn't give the government the ordnance on that airfoil. He said all they needed to know was that the landing gear would take off again after delivering the mail. And he told them that the landing gear was stressed 8 to 1. He wouldn't tell them another darn thing. I would like to say that I'm dedicating this thing to my longtime friend. He succeeded Clarence Chamberlain with Belanca. His name was Allison Buck. And from the beginning, I wanted to build a replica of Wallace Berry's ship and dedicate it to Allison Buck. So now that's it. We're going to put his name on it. We're going to put Rhett's on it. Smithsonian wants it on limited display. But this ship was designed specifically for this run. We lifted over 6.5 gallons of gasoline. And
I have always loved the biplane, and especially the float flying, because Hank courted me on floats when we were kids. I was raised at Lake Chelan, and he was raised down the Columbia River, and he courted me on floats, so I fell in love with floats and Hank all together. Well, then it was quite a few years before we started again, and float flying, and it's really the favorite part of our life. And Hank finally, after all the years, I could do everything. I could cover an airplane, I could do all the things like that, but I couldn't fly. So just before I turned 50 years old, he taught me to fly. Now I can share the load with him, so to speak. We just can go places, and I can fly and part-time, and it's just great. And I'm getting a little blind and I'm getting a little deaf from the biplane, but I don't really care. It's wonderful. We love it.
Okay, we're Henry and Alice Strock from Junction City, Oregon, with our 1933 Waco UBF-2. They're on Edo 2665-M floats that were built in 1930. According to J. Fry of Edo Corporation, oldest active Edo floats still in existence. We came about our airplane in 1951 at Swan Island in Portland. It was being operated by Lonnie's Aerial Marina. I used to see it quite often as I flew my students from Lake Union Air Service in Seattle down to Cottage Grove for their commercial cross countries. And I always remarked to Lonnie how I would sure love to have that airplane. But of course, the price was way beyond my means, till one day he showed up at our hangar there in Lake Union, and he said, well, he says, Hank, he says, my airplane is for sale today, as is, where is, he says, and it's cheap. So I figured there was something fishy, and I said, well, where is it, Lonnie? And he says, it's on the bottom of the Willamette River there at Swan Island. It flies very similar to most any, the feel and sensation is very similar to most any stick-controlled airplane, except for the fact that it is open cockpit, and it's you have the wind noise, and you can smell the hot engine,
and the front cockpit gets very, very hot. I remember the time that we were flying down the Columbia River, and we were writing the notes, and I kept pointing up, wanting to go up, because boy, that old engine was radiating heat, and I was getting very warm. He continued to stay down on that river, and finally I wrote him a note, and I said, if you don't take me up, I'm going to jump. And I literally meant it, because I was that hot. That engine just was, you know, radiating a lot of heat. But also, in turn, you get very, very hot in the summer, but you get very, very cold in the winter, too. We've got, we're pretty much set up, though, for our cold flying. We got the snowmobile suits and, you know, layer up and I think Hank stays a little warmer in the rear cockpit than I do in the front cockpit, but always, always we're having fun, whether we're cold or hot.
At least that's what we keep telling ourselves.
That's right. I keep
Now this
saying.
is fun.
Yeah. Anyway, we love our old biplane, and we'll keep her forever probably. We hope that she stays in the family, but if she doesn't, well, maybe we'll put her in a workable museum or something like that. But we always want her to fly. We don't want to stick her someplace where she's not gonna be in the air.
It'll be a static display.
Yeah, and we might restore her one more time. And if we do, we will try and restore her absolutely to original.
New this year is the Cox Cessna Skylane. It authentically represents the actual aircraft, featuring scale-like details such as the wheel pants, wing struts, and the colorful trim. Powered again by the famous 049 QRC engine and a 2-channel radio, the Skylane is sure to be a winner. Cox Hobbies utilizes the latest technology and high-pressure foam molding processes. This maintains a scale-like appearance and offers unbelievable strength. The model derives its power from the new and improved Cox 049 QRC GOL engine. The 049 sports more power, reliability, and starting ease, assisted by the built-in snap starter. These models can all be hand-launched or can take off from a safe, hard surface such as a schoolyard. See the Cox Cessna Skylane in your hobby store today.
Hello, my name's Edward Morgan, and I'm the founder of the Quarter Scale Association of America. I'd like to give you a little background about it and how it was created 8 years ago on this lake bed. In 1977, 27 of us assembled here, which we were called the Gathering of the Eagles, and this was the start of this event. Today, we have chapters all over the world, and for this event, we draw approximately 200 airplanes for this show. They are naturally quarter scale and bigger. Some of these airplanes weigh from the average of 30 pounds to 150. And the nice thing about it, it's a non-competitive organization, and what we try to do is bring modelers from all over the world to meet here and share the friendship of modeling and create new ideas. And basically, that's what the Quarter Scale Association is all about.
We are the crew from the Lufthansa Model Club Frankfurt from Germany, and my name is Alex Obolonsky. I'm the pilot of this model, and this is
Kurt Kröger.
Yeah, Kurt Kröger.
I built the retractable landing gear. I'm also from the Lufthansa Club in Frankfurt.
That's right.
And now I talk for Mr. Kling. He is the builder of that aircraft, and he is also with the Lufthansa Model Airplane Club in Frankfurt.
Okay. Mr. Kling needs about 1.5 years to build this plane, and the fuselage and the tip tanks and the motor cowls are in fiberglass, and the wings are in foam covered with balsa sheets. We have 4 engines on it. Each engine has about 1.8 horsepower and 0.61 cubic inch, and we have special mufflers on it. Therefore, it has a very low noise. We have some very bad noise rules in Germany, and so we have to fix something that's very low in the noise. The model is like the rear one, like the full scale. It's working with retractable landing gears. The landing gears has real working oil struts. It's filled with oil, and it works by oil and air pressure. The landing struts are built by Kurt Kröger, and he flew about 5 years the real one as a flight engineer. Maybe you can say something.
I say something now. I joined Lufthansa in '55 and started flying in '59 as a flight engineer on the Super Constellation and Super Star Constellation. And especially this airplane, the Alpha Lima Echo Charlie, was the plane I made my first flight as a flight engineer student on. And I flew for 5 years on Connies and on 1649, as I told before. Changing to the 707, I kept parts of the manuals and took the landing gear stuff out, put it in my shelf, and after I met somebody building such a nice Connie, I built myself a really working landing gear for the Constellation. Okay.
Okay, and Willie Kling has a lot of experience in building models. He has a 6-engine B-36 and other big planes, and you have
Airbus
seen
300.
it. Yeah, the new Airbus, German Airbus 300A, and you see how good this model flies, performs, and so I thank Willie for the good work on it. And the pilot can only good fly with a good tool. That's important.
My name's George Harlan, and I built this plane 2 years ago from a kit, but I had to do extensive modification to it because of the Eastcraft electric starting system I put on it. It has a Weber 91 two-stroke engine. I went down to an airport and copied a Monocoop 110, which is very similar. I detailed it as much as I could to that point. I used a lot of dollhouse equipment to get the miniaturization, like in my hinges here. And the latches on the cowl are keychain rings that I modified to make the little latches. It's an idea I got from an old gentleman, Frank Cummings, who has been modeling for many, many years. The doors are operational. The little unit on the bottom is a static generator, which was used to power the onboard battery system on the real plane. Had an updraft carburetor that scavenged heat off of the manifold to heat the fuel. It has full mahogany interior, carpeting, leatherette seats, full instrumentation. I took a license from a full-size pilot and reduced it down and put my name and my NC numbers and address on it, and the same, it has the airworthiness certificate on it. It has a lot of things in it that most people can't see because the wing blocks a lot of it, but on close inspection it's got a lot of little gimmicks that a lot of people haven't seen, and I enjoy explaining to them how I did it and little techniques, and that was a real fun airplane. Has functional flaps. I think I use 7 servos in it. The prop I made, the decals I made, the cylinder heads I made.
I'm Forrest Edwards. I'm from San Pedro, California. I'm here at Las Vegas at the quarter scale fly-in. And this is my engine and airplane. The engine is an original design. It's all built from bar stock. There are no castings. It's 5.7 cubic inches, spark ignition, full dry sump lubrication. The main idea was to build an engine that had low vibration and didn't sound like a chainsaw going through the air. It's turning a 2414 prop, 5,500 maximum, and idles about 900. The airplane is a consolidated fleet. The prototype was built in 1930 as a trainer. It uses a small model airplane carburetor. The fuel is a methanol gasoline blend. The reason for that, straight methanol, it runs too cold. I had to bring the temperature up where it would operate properly. It's capacitor discharge ignition through a distributor. The takeoff weight for the airplane is 28 pounds. As near as I could calculate from the published curves on the propeller, it develops between 5 and 6 horsepower.
Good.
Okay, I'm Colonel Bob Thacker. The airplane we have here in front of us is a very famous 1936 French racing airplane. This airplane is the Coudreau 460, flown in Los Angeles in the 1936 air races. And as soon as this airplane took off and raised the gear, the race was over, because the airplanes that the Americans were flying did not have any retract gear system. This French airplane was so far in advance of its time that it still holds the world speed record for its class. And at that time, it did hold the world speed record, and it was flying with 1/2 the horsepower that our American racing planes were flying with. It actually had a 6-cylinder Renault inverted inline air-cooled engine, turning a 2-speed, 2-position prop, and they changed the prop blades by compressed air. And there was a big compressed air tank in the airplane to run the gear and to run the prop change. Very sophisticated airplane for its time. I've been fooling around with aircraft since I was 5 years old. This is one that I really enjoy flying. It's beautifully aerodynamically laid out. It's a pleasure to fly. I've flown it 3 times here in Las Vegas, and it just gets more fun to fly the more I fly it, because it's an easy airplane, and at this stage of life, I like to have things that are a little bit easier for me. I'm retired military, and what I do is I just enjoy and do what I like to do, and one of them, of course, is model aviation. And radio control, as you've been able to see, is absolutely the epitome. Not only are the aircraft, but the great people you get to know and get to fly with. It's just a pleasure for me to be associated with them. The end.
Each year, 30,000 or more radio control enthusiasts come to Toledo, Ohio to see firsthand the latest RC equipment and accessories. It's also a great opportunity to talk with manufacturers. The information exchange is tremendous, and the manufacturers and their representatives work very hard to supply the customer with useful information. This year, RC Video Magazine went to Toledo to talk to some of the manufacturers. Because of the size of the show, we could make it to only a fraction of the companies represented here. RC Video Magazine will continue to bring you the latest product information and trade show reports.
Hi, I'm Bob Martin, RC Models. We're here at Toledo, and I have a couple of new items to show you. The House of Balsa line that we purchased last June had a very, very nice airplane called Pete and Pole. We've modified the airplane. We've taken the dihedral out of the airplane. We've added ailerons, and we've extended the nose and adapted it for the new 4-stroke engines. This particular one has a 40 4-stroke in it. It'll fly with 35, 40 size engine. Also, we have new for this show, we're showing at this show, is an airplane called a Pussycat. It's a glider. It's a beginner's type of glider that we designed recently. Will be selling for under $30, and it should be on the market by the time you get the tape. The last of the new items that we have is a plane we call ET, stands for Easy Trainer, and it's an airplane that we've tried to make look as much like a scale airplane, this one being a Cessna 150, and it also is a beginner's or a trainer type airplane. Has a special airfoil. It has a very gentle stall characteristic. Flies with anything from a 15 to a 35.
I'm Wally McAllister from Max Products. We manufacture mufflers and other exhaust systems like tune pipes. One of the new products that we're showing here this year is our new Wizard. It's a Sport 40 Wizard. It's about as quiet as a muffled pipe and produces the increase in power just like a tune muffled pipe. It's also rather inexpensive, only $25.95. Another product which we have been selling, many of the people who want to get into tuned pipes don't want to bother with tuning them. Here we have the header pre-cut. We suggest a prop and a fuel to use, bolted onto your airplane, and it will work.
Hi, my name is Jerry Pacelli from Northeast Aerodynamics.
My name is Dick Opachinsky, Northeast Aerodynamics.
And what we have today at the Toledo show in the way of new products is our new Sport Air 20 on floats, which will be released in September. What we have here being released at the Toledo show is our new Train Air Mark II, flat bottom airfoil and what we call a flying stab for the novice. Virtually stall proof, a fantastic flyer, and we hope that it'll make a lot of believers out of non-flyers.
My name is Bob Novak. My company is Novak Electronics. We manufacture radio control equipment for models. And our biggest seller right now is the electronic speed control, which we have right here. Now we have 3 models of this electronic speed control. Our NESC1, which retails for $180, our NESC2, which retails for $140, and our NESC4, which is our economy model, which retails for $99. I'd like to give a demonstration of how an electronic speed control works. We have it hooked up to an 05 motor, geared. It takes the place of a throttle servo, and I'll give a demonstration how it controls the prop. Now it'll control the propeller from 0 up to about 6,000 RPM. Very proportional, and it dissipates. The motor pulls about 15 amps at 8.5 volts, so it's a very efficient device.
We have here a Texan power panel. It has an auto-adjust reinforced glow driver in it. If you pay attention to the meter and the glow plug, how bright it glows, you will see that when I blow on the glow plug, the panel will sense the difference in heat and will apply more amperage to it. That's one of the advantages of this panel. Also, I'm going to remove the clips just to show you the rest of it. It has the ability to use either a 6-volt or a 12-volt fuel pump, all by the switch. You can just flip it one way for 6 and one way for 12 volts. You can fuel off or defuel your airplane or model boats or cars. The back of it is completely sealed so that it would avoid short-circuiting, and it can be used with any 12-volt battery, gel cell or wet cell.
We have several new items. One is a self-contained starter pack for the Sullivan starters. It's for right or left-handed people, and what it allows you to do is get 35-second starts with a Schnurl 60 engine, and then all you simply do is plug it into your car battery, and in 15 minutes you recharge and it's ready to go again. We also give you the provision to be able to use your transmitter's charger to slow charge it at home. The other thing for helicopter and soaring pilots is a new external pack for your transmitter. The new series of transmitters draw a lot more current, and this new external pack gives you 950 to 1,000 milliamps of capacity on the outside of the transmitter, and we eliminate the internal pack so there's no increase in weight or balance, no change in the balance. A side benefit of it is that it gives your pack your transmitter a lot of stability.
These engines are exact replicas of those built by Henry Orwick in the mid-1940s, and they've been reproduced as exactly as possible. They are used both by the Society of Antique Modeler Flyers, who fly antique airplanes on with antique engines, and they are also highly, quite a bit in demand by engine collectors from the Model Engine Collectors Association. And you want 6 or a dozen?
I'm representing Titoni Products, and our product line consists of many cast aluminum parts. Some of our new products include the 4-cycle steerable nose gear and the large test stand. We have a line of engine mounts and various mufflers, all from cast aluminum and polished.
Yeah, this is Dave Brown Products here, and I'm Dave Brown, and among the products we primarily make accessories and that type of thing, but we've gotten kind of into this computer simulation, and we've got people here now flying our computer flight simulators, and it's become quite a product. People have a lot of fun with it. It's very realistic, and they crash just like the real ones. They fly away just like the real ones. And it's an excellent training device. People can crash these 100 times during the day. It really doesn't cost anything, but the program does give you an estimate of what it would cost if it was real. Based on this program, it appears that someone who can master flying the model by this program, then you take them out with an instructor and in 20 minutes they can fly. And I hope that this will do an awful lot of good for our whole industry in teaching people to fly.
This is our new 45 engine. It's schnurl ported, ABC, and basically what we've tried to do is give state-of-the-art technology at a sport price, and we've detuned the engine so that the average modeler, so it'll start and run and act more like a sport engine, a break in quick, but still offer state-of-the-art technology. And that's about it.
My name is Bill Northrop. I'm the editor and publisher of Model Builder magazine. It's my wife Anita over here. And in addition to the magazine, we have a sideline which we distribute to the hobby industry, and that's the Uberschieber knife. And the knife is offered in many different colors. These are anodized colors of aluminum. And I'd like to show you some of the fine points of the knife. The collet works from the back end, so you do not have to tighten up here, and when you cut around curved portions, it does not come loose, unscrew itself and come loose. The handle also will not roll off the table, so the knife will stick you in the foot. Makes it a little safer. The collet operating from the back end releases the blades, which are surgical stainless steel blades. They're actually a modified surgery blade. The edge holds up much longer than a carbon steel blade. For instance, when you're cutting monocoat, with this blade you can keep on cutting and cutting and cutting, and the edge never breaks down, whereas with a carbon steel blade, after you've made a few long cuts, it starts to snag, and you can't cut anymore with it. You have to go to something smoother.
Hi, I'm Hank Hankinson from Sonictronics, and this year at the Toledo Week Signal Show, we're showing the new 4-cycle glow plugs. We have the OS Max plug, which retails at $3.29. We also make an alternate 4-cycle plug, which is made up for the Enya, Sato, and so forth type of 4-cycle engines. Along with this, we have a new product, which we introduced, calling the Magnet Tray, a simple little item that belongs in everybody's toolbox, that when you turn upside down, you just don't drop your parts, you don't lose things when you're working on your engines and so forth at the field. We also, of course, have in our line a very staple product, making it for the last few years, the Veripulse electronic panel for the starting of model aircraft engines, along with our electric fuel pumps, the Super 10 and Mark 10 pump, along with a number of other products produced by Sonictronics, and we'll be here next year again to see you again.
It's the Fillets Made Easy time at the Model Magic booth, Toledo, Ohio, 1980 and 5. Now, where can I find a test piece? There we go. You're going to zoom in on this, are you? Okay. Just fill up the filleted area. Wipe a spoon through there once. There you are. In about 3 hours, that'll be ready to sand, just as smooth as a baby's hinder.
Thanks for making Zap the #1 adhesive system in America.
Well,
we're going to talk about something that you might find a little unusual in this day of quarter scale and giant scale and so on and so forth. The category has been known for years as schoolyard scale. And what that means, essentially, is a plane small enough, a scale plane small enough that can be flown from a typical schoolyard. Now, I have to point out that you'd better, if you plan on going down to your local schoolyard to fly anything, you'd better make absolutely certain you have permission ahead of time. So when I use the term schoolyard, think of a typical soccer field. And a plane that is scale, good-looking, fun to fly, and can still turn in a tight enough space to fly on a small field, that's what we're talking about when we mean schoolyard scale. Now, it's something that not a lot of people seem to be involved in these days, but it has pleasures all its own. For one thing, the planes are an awful lot easier to manage. You don't have to go out and buy a new truck just to carry your latest model airplane to the field. In fact, most of the time, you don't even have to provide a way to take the wings off the fool thing. They tend to be less expensive. You can get a lot of pleasure out of building them. And this is another thing that I think is a little bit neglected. Some of us enjoy building just as much as we enjoy flying, especially up here where we have winter. Some of you folks in the south of the country maybe don't have quite that same experience, but we do. And I like to spend the winter building and hangar flying and holding an unfinished airplane up in the air and making putting noises. So this is really an ideal category for that sort of thing. A lot of the planes for schoolyard scale type flying have been around for a long time. And if you dig into some of the older magazines or some older issues of current magazines, you're likely to find a few very good plans and articles for designing and building schoolyard scale planes. If you're accustomed to building from plans, then that's an excellent way to go. Model Airplane News ran an article in 1981, I believe it was, by Bill Winter about schoolyard in general. Another plan that I highly recommend is Don Sroll's Taylor Cub, which was in Model Aviation, I believe, 4 or 5 years ago. I don't have a plans list handy, but you could get that by writing to them very easily. Looking around Flying Models magazine, particularly Model Builder, any of these will come up with any number of good subjects for a small schoolyard scale airplane. I have a couple in front of me here that are better demonstrations than all the words that I could come up with. These are both kits from Flyline Models, a small company that specializes in small airplanes. We'll get a little bit more into those kits in a few minutes, but they're excellent examples of the type. This Inland Sport is a wonderful flying airplane designed for an 020 to an 049 engine, as a good many schoolyard scale planes are. 2 channels, rudder and elevator, lightweight radio equipment. It's all framed, balsa framed fuselage. The wings are all, the wing ribs are all print wood, which we will describe later on. Anybody who's built an ordinary kit where you tack the plans down and go to it will have no problems at all with these. I don't recommend them as a construction project for a beginner unless you have model building experience of some sort before. But for your 3rd or 4th airplane, if you're really interested in airplanes of this era, you can go to town on one of these and really come up with something that you can be a lot prouder of than the same ugly stick painted differently than the 15 others on the flying line. The Inland is a very nice flying airplane. This one's a lot nicer than the one that I built, which I have flown extensively, to put it politely. This one was lent to me by the AMA Museum, and it is one of the prototypes that Flyline Models put together for their kit. As a result, it's really loaded down with detail. One of the other nice things about schoolyard scale as a category is that there's a lot of charm in having a little bitty airplane, and you can go as wild as you want to on the detail. It doesn't cost a lot of money, and it's really very easy to do. Taking a ruler, some striping tape, a couple of lettering pens in different sizes, and you can really make up a very snappy-looking airplane with very little effort. And we'll get into some nuts and bolts a little later on. This Curtiss Robin also comes to us courtesy of the AMA Museum. It's powered by a Mills Diesel 15. The Mills diesels are still available through Indy RC, And there may well be other sources, but Indy is the one that I'm certain of that has them. Small diesel engines are excellent for the schoolyard category. You can have an awful lot of fun with those. The Robin is an example of going mildly berserk on the scale detail. I'll stack this thing up against any quarter scale plane I've ever seen. It has all the scale rivets, struts. It's too bad we can't look inside the fuselage here because there's a detailed cockpit, 2 seats, pedals, seat belts, just about everything you can imagine. And it is a fine flying little airplane. 2 channels. Didn't bother throttling the Mills diesel, although on some of them you can throttle them. The ailerons are cut out, but they're really for show. They're fixed in place. Ordinarily, you can get away very happily with 2 or 3 channels, which is another charming part of the schoolyard scale category. If you are not comfortable building from plans or from magazine articles, there are several kits available for the schoolyard scale category. Flyline Models is really the major source for them. And Flyline's kits are available in most hobby shops as well as through mail order. You can check any of the magazine ads. They'll be in there. Micro X Products has 2 very, very nice semi-scale schoolyard scale models, a Stinson Voyager and a Taylorcraft. These are beautifully done, very lightweight airplanes, both designed for 049 power or 09 power. I personally lean a little bit toward the 09. I have a couple of Enya 09s that are so beautifully broken in and throttleable. They really are nice. And for small field flight, I really prefer the extra versatility of a throttle. But a Micro X Stinson or Taylorcraft with that one of my Enya 09s in it would really be a nice combination. Well, with a little luck, we might just have you thinking about going out and building yourself a schoolyard scale model. So let's move these aside for a second and start talking about the equipment that you'll need. There are plenty of different engines and radios available. You'll find that most of the schoolyard category designs are intended for 049, 09, maybe some 15s and 25s. As far as 049s are concerned, Cox engines are fine. They're readily available. I recommend the TDs over the Pee-wees. They develop slightly more power. They're a little easier for people to handle. Just make sure you get the good Cox red can fuel, and you shouldn't have any problems with them. From personal experience, I have very good things to say about the Enya 09. Runs very nicely on 10% fuel. It takes a little while to break in. Like most Enyas, they take a little while to break in and they never wear out. This one is venerable. It's about 14 years old, just getting good, you know. And this will fit into most of these kits that we've discussed. Very throttleable, idles beautifully, very nice engine for this sort of thing. Now, some of the modern 4-strokes that have just been coming out have opened up the category quite a bit. My Flyline Fairchild 22 has an HP 21 4-stroke in it, and that is an excellent combination. The next schoolyard scale model that I'm building will have a Sato 30. The kit is the Flyline Great Lakes Trainer. It's designed for 25s, for 15 to 25s and 4-channel radio. So the Sato 30, which is an extremely nice engine, will drop right into that. And as we get into that a little bit, I'll show you exactly how it'll fit. Very, very minor modifications will be necessary, and this modern 4-cycle should power that plane beautifully. Now, as far as radios are concerned, the main thing to look for is lightweight. The weight is really the crucial consideration all the way through designing and building a schoolyard scale model. Aim for small servos. You can often take the case off the receiver and secure it with foam rubber, save maybe 1/4 ounce. I know it doesn't sound like much to you RC giant scale types, but it matters in this category. I highly recommend Cox radios. They have a very nice 3-channel single stick system that has nice small servos. Their servos are kind of squared off and boxy, but that makes them pretty easy to fit into most schoolyard scale designs. Another servo that's very highly recommended is the S18, I think it's a World Engines brand, S18 servo. I bought a batch of them through Indy RC, and they're very small, very lightweight, adequate throw, and very nice servos. Craft Systems has developed some servos for cars that are outstanding for schoolyard scale use, and I would recommend these anywhere you need to save weight. Some of you sailplane guys, check out these Craft Systems. I have a new Craft 3-channel radio in the Fairchild 22 with these small servos, and it's really, really nice. And finally, Novak Electronics makes receivers and flight packs that are very good. Novak has made most of its progress in the car market. And if there's a case where you really have a small model and you need to save weight, you might take a look at this little NER2S receiver. It's only available on 27 megahertz. So you have a little gyration that you'll have to go through on that score. But in most places, 27 megahertz is relatively clean. And this is the tiniest little receiver. As I said, it's a car receiver. It's 2 channels only, and it has plug-in crystals. But if for certain cases where you're dealing with a really, really small model, this is an ideal receiver. Okay, well, I've enjoyed giving you a little introduction to this weird and wonderful category that we call schoolyard scale, little bitty airplanes that are fun to fly around. But let's face it, there are some of us who just have to build quarter scale. So, you want quarter scale? We got quarter scale. This is the Art Chester Jeep. With its 4-foot wingspan, it's just over quarter scale when you consider that the original one had a wingspan of 16 feet. So, big may be better, but small is super.
Whether you're just starting or an experienced pro, you'll find Great Plains makes a quality kit for you. For learning, you can't beat a Trainer 20, 40, or 60. They are easy building kits designed to get you to that first takeoff quickly. During training, your instructor will reduce the throttle for slow, stable, and responsive flight. After soloing, our symmetrical airfoil allows high-speed flight without trim changes, even aerobatics. Our Sportster 40, 60, and 40 bike designs are a perfect blend of performance with style. And now kits come complete with 4-cycle conversion plans so your Sportster can sound as good as it looks. The Chaos designs were perfected in competition so they're fast and groovy flyers. 4-point rolls, inverted flight, Immelmans, figure M's, a Chaos will do them all. They're easy to build kits that are light for their size, so landings are nice and slow. Experienced modelers will love our 72-inch span Cap 21. It's an accurate scale design that is incredibly aerobatic with a Snurl 60 or 124 stroke. If you have a 40 size engine, think about installing it in one of our realistic new designs. The Cherokee 40 flies like a sport model but looks like a real plane. Flap hardware is included to add a new dimension to flying fun. And our plane will even do mild stunts such as this spin, just like the full-size Cherokee. For breathtaking maneuvers with a 40-powered scale plane, there's our new Cap 21 40. Point rolls, knife-edge loops, hammerheads, they're all possible with this superb performer. Lightweight balsa construction coupled with a Snurl 40 engine will give great vertical performance. Just watch this plane climb. Snap rolls are literally a snap. And best of all, our Cap lands like a trainer. That's because it's a great plane. See them at your dealers today.
Hello again. This segment we're going to spend a little time on basic construction. What I have in front of me here is a Great Plains Cap 21. This is the 40 size model and an excellent airplane, but you can do a lot around the area of the tail blocks to make the construction easier. Almost every kit shows you a stabilizer and a fin mounted on the airplane, and they give you a nice little block. You take the block, mount it onto the airplane, and start to draw lines. Then you remove the block, carve to rough shape, refit it again and again, and after about 40 times, you manage to wind up with something that's one stop short of ugly. And what we're going to do is eliminate that altogether. Here's how to do it. Take the fin, get rid of it. Take the stabilizer, get rid of it. The stabilizer we have on this airplane is 3/8 of an inch thick, so I have a scrap block that's 3/8 of an inch thick that I'm just going to tack glue into position here, where the stab would normally go, right on the saddle. The fin is a 1/4 inch thick, and I have a scrap shim here, also a 1/4 of an inch thick, that we're going to tack glue on the back of the saddle behind the stab piece. You can draw a center line down the back of the fuselage here if that'll make your work easier. I just eyeball this sort of thing. Next step is to glue the block into position. And we'll just put one drop up there to hold the tack. Speed that up a little bit. This Pacer stuff is wonderful, by the way, if you haven't used that yet. That's real good. And now we're going to get the tail blocks in, surrounding the fin area. One on this side. And another on the other side. What we have here is a tail end assembly that's just about ready to be worked on. Instead of removing everything, drawing lines and all that, this is a razor plane, and if you don't have one of these in your shop, you should have. And we're going to start having at these tail blocks right here. This makes a little bit of a mess, so it's not a bad idea to have a vacuum cleaner next to your workbench. Just about there. And you want to just follow the angle of the fuselage, razor plane it down to rough shape. Follow the flow. Well, that's close enough for the razor plane. What we have there is the blocks roughly sized to shape. The next piece is a permagrit. This is from DG Products, and real nice. This is an 80 grit brazed tungsten piece here. We're going to use the coarse side to shape this some more. Makes quick work of stuff like this. Balsa blocks aren't even a challenge. Getting roughed out pretty good. And the last step is the T-bar sander. And right now we follow the line of the fuselage. I'll use the side to shape the sides, I'll use the top to shape the top, and the whole form of the turtle deck to shape the block so that it blends and flows. And just a few minutes right there, I've got what normally would take you probably 2 hours of cutting, shaping, fitting to get done. At this point, you can use an X-Acto knife to remove the block that you've got tack glued in there for the stabilizer, and the same for the fin block. Or you can break the whole thing off, cover the airplane as you normally would, and glue them in place afterwards. Either way, best way in the world to do it. Quick and easy.
Hi, racing fans. I'm Chris Economaki at Lime Rock Park, about to talk with racing team manager and car owner Bob Sharp about his remarkable new racing model. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, congratulations on that latest win. Good work.
Oh, thank you very much.
Bob, what about this new car we've been hearing so many rumors about? Tell us about it.
Well, we're really excited about this, Chris. We've really done a concentrated effort with the whole crew, including my son, with this vehicle.
Yeah, but Bob, what's really new and different about it?
Well, we've knocked a ton of weight off this vehicle this year.
A ton? Really?
In addition to that, we decided to switch from conventional gasoline power.
Ah, a breakthrough, a diesel-powered car.
No, Chris, it's low-voltage electric.
Now that is new and different.
Well, we're full of surprises this year. In fact, we decided to race the car without the driver inside. Hey, fellas, bring out the new car.
Well, here it is, ladies and gentlemen, Bob Sharp's new World Beater. Where, Bob?
Right over there, Chris.
Ah, a subcompact. Get ready to discover a world of excitement, thrills, and fun. Model car racing. It's a hobby. It's a sport with all the drama of full-scale racing on a small-scale budget. So join Bob Sharp and me for a closer look at the action. Radio control model car racing puts you in complete control. Braking, accelerating, and steering just like the real thing. These tough 1/12 scale off-road vehicles even have miniature working suspensions, real shocks and springs, even pneumatic tires. Some can even shift gears. These cars are powered by electric motors, energized by easily rechargeable nickel-cadmium batteries. They're built to take lots of punishment, running over the roughest terrain. And those with waterproof construction can even run in the rain and through shallow water. You know, Bob, it looks like these off-road cars can be driven just about anywhere.
That's the beauty of it, Chris. The world becomes your racetrack. Now that's what I call off the beaten path.
I wouldn't even call that a path, Bob. From out of the way to speedway, model car racing is just as popular on the road as it is off.
I don't know whether you noticed it or not, Chris, but these cars are attacking the corners exactly the way we do it in the big cars.
They're really quick. The action in radio control racing is really impressive, but there's just as much excitement in 1/24th and 1/32nd scale slot car racing as well.
You don't have to tell me, Chris.
Get ready, get set, go, with lots of action for not a lot of money. 1/24th and 1/32nd scale slot cars are running at hobby centers all across the country.
Did you know that the fastest of the 1/24th scale slot cars can go from 0 to 60 in just 3 seconds?
Now that's acceleration. 1/24th scale is a great way to exercise your competitive urge on these challenging courses. And 1/32nd scale is easy to maintain. Coast into the pits for repairs, then run all out for the checkered flag. These drivers are really concentrating, Bob.
That's what it takes to win races.
And the sooner you viewers get into competition, the sooner you can drive home a winner. You know, the competitive urge hits close to home with all of us. In fact, you can bring all of the action right into your own home with model car racing in HO scale.
HO scale? I'm ready for that.
HO scale electric slot and slotless cars provide plenty of home-based action for the entire family.
They pack an awful lot of power into these cars.
And they generate lots of excitement. Choose from a wide range of body styles. Design your own competition course, and even challenge your family and friends.
My son beats me all the time.
Well, you'll just have to practice.
I think I'll just pull out his controller plug.
Oh, take it easy on him, Bob. Your whole family can plug into the thrill of winning with HO scale racing. Model car racing is both a sport and a hobby, something the whole family can enjoy. And no matter what scale you choose, you can have grand scale excitement. It's safe, exciting, and even the pros are enthusiastic about it. Haha, what's this?
It's a half-scale racing team manager.
Okay, you gotta take another half second off your time, Dad.
You're the boss.
Here, this is yours, Dad.
The all-new Progress four-wheel drive 1/10 scale radio control electric-powered off-road racer is a world first from Cox Hobbies. It uses not only four-wheel drive for maximum traction, but also has an efficient four-wheel steering system for lightning-quick maneuverability, for which the patent is pending. Modern torsion suspension at the front and twin trailing arms at the rear assure top-road holding. The power from an Abuchi RS540S motor drives front and rear wheels through a unique guided ladder chain system that delivers maximum power to the road. Weight has been held to a minimum despite the sophistication of the drive and the steering system. Top quality materials have been selected for every part to give the Progress driver the performance and reliability needed for racing. The Progress comes in kit form with fully illustrated instructions.
Portopia Land in Kobe City, Japan, on December 1st and 2nd, 1984, was the scene of the first Super Mini America's Cup Japan Regatta, a one-class design regatta featuring the Heron 12. Sponsored by Mr. Donuts and Yomiuri TV, Japan's largest TV network. The Heron 12 is a radio-controlled model yacht, modeled after the yachts raced in the America's Cup races. It is 18 inches in overall length, 3 5/8 inches in beam, and 28 inches in height, a 1:43 scale model. The hull is constructed of strong ABS plastic, the mast of FRP, and the sails of 25-micron polyester. The Heron 12 comes with 6 RC crystals, allowing for radio control on 6 different frequencies, meaning that 6 different boats can be raced at the same time in the same area. One of the guests of honor was Mr. Richard Palmer, coordinator of the Mini America's Cup races and founder of the Mini America's Cup Association. Mr. Itsuo Kawata, president of AG, manufacturer of the Heron 12, also attended. 2 courses were used, the specific course for any race being selected based on prevailing wind conditions. The race is about to begin. 6 boats raced in the first race of the day, all on different channels. The Heron 12 sails just like the real America's Cup yachts. It takes just as much understanding of sailing principles, skill, and strategy. And is therefore as challenging and as exciting as sailing the real America's Cup yachts. It attracts the novice as well as the advanced sailor. The Heron 12 control panel allows the skipper to control both sails and rudder up to a distance of 200 yards. The Heron 12 is easy to assemble due to the fact that RC equipment is already built into the Heron 12, thus cutting down assembly time. The enthusiastic hobbyist can also modify a number of parts: the sails, the deck, the keel, the rudder, and so on, as well as paint and decorate the hull, deck, and sails, to give his or her boat an individual personal touch. Here is the start of the final match race to determine the winner of the first Super Mini America's Cup Japan Regatta. The Heron 12 is a winner of the Hobby Industry of America's Creative Excellence Award. It attracts both young and old, men and women, novice and experienced sailors, drawing a crowd wherever it's sailed. The Heron 12 is made in Japan by AG, distributed in the U.S. by AG Industries, Seattle, Washington, and found in the best hobby and toy departments and shops around the country. The Heron 12 has proven to be a top performer in the store as well as in the water. And here is the winner, the Heron 12.
In Reston, Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C., is the AMA headquarters and museum. Within the walls of this contemporary building are the most beautiful examples of the history of model aviation. On display in this museum may be the greatest treasure for the modeler of today. The entire evolution of model aviation is represented here. The secret to the magic we find in our model aircraft lies within these exhibits and especially the people they represent. RC Video will be taking a tour of the museum in the next few issues, led by Mr. Hurst Bowers, museum curator, and Doug Pratt from the Academy of Model Aeronautics.
Doug, this is a model that was built in the mid-30s by Gordon Light, who's currently living up in Maine. And he built this to enter into the Wakefield competition in England. And in fact, in 1935, he was the winner. And that was, of course, the, I believe, the first, in fact, I'm sure it's the first time that we ever won the Wakefield Trophy. And this is the aircraft that was used.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And,
From 1935.
1935. Here we have a 50-year-old model there that we could put the wing on and take right out and fly.
Sure enough.
And interesting thing, he built this box specifically to transport this model to and from England. And the box subsequently, I understand, has made several crossings with this model in it. But the landing gear, of course, the propeller and rubber motor come out.
Right.
The landing gear comes out.
So sure enough.
Everything was very carefully engineered so that it could be shipped easily. The tail post comes off the same way.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it all fits beautifully in that little box there.
I'll be darned. It's just amazing that anything that old could still be together, and
yeah, isn't it?
Looks like you could take it right out and fly it.
You could. You could.
That's marvelous.
In fact, before Gordon gave us that model, he put new rubber in it and lubed it. So,
so if we ever got in the mood,
we can. But you know, back in 1935, that was, I guess, really you might say the highlight of rubber, because engines had not come in. And one of the first engines, in fact, the guy who's generally given credit for the invention and development of the model airplane engine is Bill Brown here.
Oh, yeah.
And this was his first engine, the Brown Jr. He was a lad about 16 years old at the time, and his father used to tell him he'd amount to nothing tinkering around with these toy engines.
Really?
But when he developed a good engine that, and found that there was a market for it, his father quit his job and took over as manager of his function there.
Shows you, Dad.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's great. So this whole unit would mount in an airplane?
Yes, you could do that. Now, this was a follow-on engine that Bill built called the Brownie. And
much more compact.
He was attempting to make them a little smaller then. And
this would be the fuel tank back here.
And
it
it
was
was
needle valve.
Not as good an engine, I understand, as the old original Brown Jr., but nevertheless it shows the way people were thinking at the time.
Starting to look modern there. Similar layout.
And to show that he had no corner on the market, Irwin Olson out on the West Coast was coming along. And this is one of his more well-known engines, and this was the beautiful big Olson 60 that powered so many of the high-performance contest-winning gas models of the late 30s, early 40s.
All of these are spark ignition engines?
Yes, they are spark ignition.
Boy, what a beautiful hub you give you on that thing, and
that's
cooling
a real
fins.
club, isn't it?
My gosh, the size of that prop. What a beauty.
Working with a little bit slower RPMs then than now,
Yeah.
too. Another very interesting engine is this ELF. This came out in the late 30s, and it was really a pretty good little engine, but I don't think it was generally at that time considered as reliable an engine as some of the others. But now it's become quite a sought-after collector's item.
That's what I've heard. The Model Engine Collectors Association talk about these things. And
this is right, and they built this engine with up to 6 cylinders.
6?
Flat opposed 6-cylinder.
Oh, for crying out loud!
Very interesting engine.
This little fuel tank and carburetor and
It has a
wide
little float
knob
carburetor in it too.
A float carburetor. My gosh, that's amazing. And these engines have just come to us from all over the place. I see this one, Keith Dentel of Falls Church.
From Falls Church. Keith's a retired engineer. Has quite a wonderful collection of models. This is an interesting engine. It's a Burgess M5. It's actually a model of the 5-cylinder LeBlond aircraft engine.
Four-stroke ignition.
Four-stroke ignition.
My gosh.
A little magneto. It's a very interesting little engine.
Did they really fly them with these big aluminum props on them?
I don't think.
My Lord.
that would be a very good flying prop.
Boy, that's quite a piece of workmanship.
Isn't it, though? It really is. Now, that's another valuable collector's item.
Yeah, I guess it is. I've heard talk about the Morton M5s. And
now we can move over into some of the more modern engines, the modern glow, such as the big McCoy here.
Oh, golly.
That was a real powerhouse.
Looks like a speed model engine.
Sure does.
Boy, oh boy. Carburetor on the back.
Primarily.
And you can see the intake right through. Boy, quite a piece. Little bitty propeller compared to that Olsen 60 over there.
You really go into some screaming RPMs there. Yeah. This is an interesting little exhibit. This is a wax mold used for making the casting for building an engine. This is the casting that was made, and this is the finished product.
Oh my gosh.
It was built by George Meyer. It's a little 02 diesel.
The George Meyer who designed the Lil Toot aerobatic biplane?
That's the gentleman.
Oh, look at that. What a piece of
George
work.
was a wonderful craftsman and a very enthusiastic modeler. And
he made his own wax castings and machined these engines out? Oh, my gosh.
Yes, and as we move through the museum, I'll be able to point out to you some of the beautiful models that he built. He was a very prolific man. Now, this is a little CO2 engine powered from the gas in a sparklet, which is transferred through that valve arrangement into the tank and then to the, of course, prop through the regular cylinder piston arrangement. This is still produced, or one like similar to this is still produced in this country by Bill Brown and his son, who, of course, really is responsible for the model engine.
So it sounds like 3 generations of Browns working on these.
Sure is. Now, this is another little innovation.
Oh, a JetX. Boy, I used to go crazy over those when I was a kid.
Haven't been able to quite achieve real jet power, but it was pretty close. Basically, it's a little solid fuel rocket engine, but it would, that's a pellet that goes into that little chamber, and there's a fuse. You light the fuse, and as it ignites the fuel, pressure builds up and comes out of a fine orifice there as exhaust gas. And you apply Newton's third law, and
boy, I remember the difficulty we used to have getting fuel for those blooming things.
They don't make them anymore, and I guess too many people got burned on them, literally. Speaking of jets, this is a mini jet. We've tried a lot of approaches to jet power, and this is actually really just a pulse jet. Just a plain old pulse jet. It has a little flapper valve there.
I've seen movies of these things, and they made enough noise to wake the dead.
They really go through the fuel, too.
Phew,
Pet milk can of fuel will give you about 4 or 5 laps on the control line.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, that's fantastic.
So it, not only is it non-economical, but it makes a heck of a racket.
Well, the neighbors know you're there.
They sure do. Now, this is a classic example of the state-of-the-art in speed control line models. And Bob Wisniewski, one of our AMA members, held a world speed record with that. As you can see, tuned pipe for additional thrust from the exhaust and more efficiency. It has a metal pan on which the engine's mounted, and also a beautifully machined metal wing there.
I think this is, if I recall Bill Wisniewski correctly, this is the first model to use a tuned pipe.
It could well be.
Yeah. And
could well be. I think probably it was. This is an earlier speed model than Wisniewski's.
Solid aluminum.
This was one of the early airplanes to use the metal fuselage type construction. And as you can see, the progression in sophistication from this model on to this one.
Come a long way.
Speaking of progression and sophistication, this is something of interest. This is the world's smallest, and this was designed and built by Johnny Clemens, who used to be our AMA president. He has a hobby shop down in Dallas now, and Johnny was telling me that this was sort of like a jet-powered mosquito. He really got attention when he flew it. I think he flew it on about 10-foot lines.
Oh, Lord.
From the top of his hat.
Well, it's
pylon around the pole.
It's a good thing he isn't any taller. He'd have wound himself right into the ground.
Yeah, he sure would. Yeah, Johnny is a very innovative gentleman, wonderful guy. These are some more engines that
Yes.
people have donated to our collection. These represent some of the early half-A engines which have become so popular.
049. Now, people do donate quite a bit of material to the museum as it goes along. Do you have standards and criteria? Do you want people to get in touch with you first if they have an idea?
Yes, we do. All of the above. In the early days of the museum, we weren't as selective as we ultimately will have to be. We wanted to have something for the people, many people who visited us, to see. So we accepted an awful lot of items for exhibit which really did not have the significance that ultimately we want to achieve. But we do want people to contact us, let us know what they have, and establish a value on it and give it to us on a deed of gift if we accept it. And incidentally, insofar as radios are concerned, we have just about reached the limit of our storage capacity right now on radios.
That's what
we're working on engines now, and as you can see, we have a fairly good collection started. Incidentally, I overlooked one important engine here. This is an engine that was made in China that President John Grigg brought back last summer from the world competition there.
Beautiful piece
and
of work.
And it is really a remarkably well-done engine.
Glow engine? Oh, it's beautiful.
It's glow with the rear port, and looks like it
Control
would
line.
really be a powerhouse.
Man, it's too bad it's so valuable. I'd love to take it out and run it.
Yeah, we don't have many exhibits from Red China, but that's
really something. Well, when you consider how well they did at the Control Line World Championships last September, they're up and coming.
You can understand.
Thanks for making ZAP the #1 adhesive system in America. We hope that you have enjoyed Volume 3 of RC Video Magazine. RC Video Magazine is a quarterly magazine dedicated to the RC hobby, published on videotape. If you would like a subscription, mail $90 plus $6 postage and handling, name and address, and VCR format to Post Office Box 3578, Boulder, Colorado 80307. Or call us at area code 303-443-7170. Your comments and suggestions are welcome. Please write to us.